We all have conflict.
Yeah.
It's just we're not educated about how to dance with it.
People just get really scared, whether it's the blame, the defensiveness, the voice raising, the yelling, the shutting down and getting completely silent for days on end. They're so ashamed because they don't focus on repair. They keep getting lost in trying to behave differently during conflict, and they never learn repair. Repair is the antidote to everything.
Over the past 20 plus years, Jayson Gaddis has trained hundreds of coaches worldwide, helping transform their relationships, and is the author of Getting to Zero.
I had finished my 7th failed relationship at age 29. I was breaking up with another good woman in the Whole Foods parking lot. I was just scared to let her in, making her wrong for having needs, for having emotions, for wanting to talk about our relationship. My system couldn't handle it. It was too uncomfortable. That's what disconnected people do. When you're connected, it's more work. People just cannot listen when they're triggered. It's just wired in our DNA. As social mammals, one of the worst things that can happen to us is to be outcast, to be abandoned, and that's what's at stake. And if you can learn how to repair, you've got the keys to reconnecting every single time, especially if you got a willing partner. So here's how to do that.
Why do people think that by avoiding conflict, they're somehow stoking their power? But paradoxically, it's stunting their power.
Yeah, they're in fantasies still about how relationships work. People believe and have bought a fairy tale about, if I have friends and family members and a partner where we don't fight, that's good. And that's positive, and I must be with the right people or met the right person. And I just think that's a denial of reality, right? The weather is constantly changing, just like relationships and just like our relationship with ourselves. So of course there's going to be adversity and challenge between us, and that's not a problem at all. But a lot of people hang on to the fantasy of like, oh, damn it, this is too uncomfortable. I don't want to have a fight. I don't want to argue. I don't want to disagree. It's so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And it is. I agree. Still to this day, it's fucking uncomfortable. I don't like it.
Yeah, no one wants to run as fast as they can towards pain unless, I don't know, they're a Navy SEAL or something.
Right.
But I would assume that if you've worked with special operators, you've worked with people that have jobs or careers in high tension environments.
Yeah.
Do they bring that home? Is it hard to be in relationship with like an entrepreneur or A-type go-getter person? Do those people struggle with conflict at home more than others?
Well, I don't know about more than others, but 100% they struggle at home. It's like I used to, when I was a therapist back in the day in Boulder, I worked with a lot of professional athletes, mainly climbers, mountaineers, turbo athletes, triathletes, and they are fearless in nature. You know, they will almost die constantly, but at home, they will avoid every hard conversation they can. It's just too uncomfortable. And I'm like, wow, that's so interesting. You will suffer on the mountain for days without food and in the snow and ice. And when it comes to like your marriage, you won't have a hard conversation.
What's going on in there? Why is that true sometimes?
Well, I think it's the way we're wired as social mammals. One of the worst things that can happen to us is to be rejected, to be outcast, to be abandoned. And that's what's at stake when you and I are, in a high stakes relationship. If it doesn't go well, we could be rejected, alone, cast out, and that's humiliating. It's so painful to be alone. And it's just wired in our DNA, right? I don't, like, babies die if they get left, So yeah, that's my sense.
It's essentially what I'm hearing from you. Tell me if I'm getting this right. It's a DNA expression that is turned off and on by epigenetics of I'm going to be ostracized. I'm going to be left out in the cold. I'm going to be rejected from tribe. But it's actually a time travel. If you look at the Native American generation principle, the 7th generation principle, are we potentially epigenetically broadcasting and projecting our fear onto our husband or wife, feeling that we may not be lovable or feeling like we'll be rejected, even if it's small stuff or any other of the 5 major argument points? Are we actually projecting it in that moment?
Probably that's a layer. If we just keep it really simple, people just get really scared.
Yeah.
And it's so tender to be in disharmony with each other, or the person we love the most, whether it's our kid, our parent, or our partner. It doesn't feel good, and it's painful.
Yeah.
We don't like that.
You had said my family of origin was pretty conflict avoidant.
Yeah.
You used to remember a couple times bragging to your friends that your parents never fought. So you learned how to do that. And anytime a woman you were dating would bring needs or conversation to you, you would tend to push them away. This is maybe when you met your now wife, Ellen, or not. You said it was your MO for a long time until you started working on yourself. What did the initial stages, before the relationship school, before people know you now, if you could pull a lever and go back in time, was it meeting your now wife that sparked this relational journey with yourself?
It was a little before that. I had finished my 7th failed relationship at age 29. I was breaking up with another good woman in the Whole Foods parking lot. And here I am again, pushing her away, making her wrong for having needs, for having emotions, for wanting to talk about our relationship. And I was just like, what the fuck? This is too much. I couldn't handle it. My system couldn't handle it. It was too uncomfortable, right? And I was coming from a background of a lot of numbing emotionally, drugs and alcohol abuse, and, my childhood and whatever. So I had it that I was right and they were wrong. And me being right was, if you bring up hard shit, you're wrong. There should be no drama here. And I was really bought into that for about a decade in relationships. And I would push every woman away that got close to me.
Do you ever look back on these women as now teachers?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've thanked them all. I've written letters. I wrote my last girlfriend prior to this, the one in the Whole Foods parking lot that I broke up with, I wrote her a letter once I started going to therapy and working on myself. And I was like, totally apologized and owned everything. I was like, I'm so sorry for pushing you away and making you the problem. I see now that I was most of the problem. It was actually me and my guarded heart. I was just scared to let her in.
Do you feel like we guard our hearts because of parental example or because of energy and motion that gets stuck, AKA traumatic experiences? Or is it an amalgamation of both?
I think it's both.
How so?
I think one of the biggest heartbreaks, and parents, this is very subtle, okay? This is watching years of parenting in myself and my friends and my kids and their classmates at school. A lot of parents, because they're not true elders and they don't actually know how to hold space for their child's journey and the whole of them, because they're jammed up in themselves, they will shut down their kids on a myriad of ways without even knowing they're doing it. And their kids, because their kids want love and belonging, will adapt to who their parents want them to be. And that first moment when they're 1 or 2 or 3, when they get the message that who I am is not accepted, not lovable by these people in this home, that's a heartbreak. It's a deep heartbreak. And the heart begins to close. And all we need is a couple experiences like that to be completely shut off. Like, oh, cool. My emotions aren't welcome here. My silly expression isn't welcome here. My goofiness isn't welcome. So I'm going to go on lockdown and I will be who they want me to be. And I think that is at the root for a lot of us in adulthood, why it's very hard for us to open our hearts, because we don't have a memory of that shutdown, a lot of us. We just think this is normal. And then we kind of analyze, well, the reason I'm not opening up is because of you. Instead of like actually doing the work to realize, oh, I've been jammed up for a long time. I've been on lockdown forever. And I'm just scared as hell to open and let you in.
For whatever reason, I just flashed in front of my eyes this passage from the 4 Agreements where Miguel Ruiz was saying the truth is like a scalpel. And when you dig into the truth, you let out the emotional poison that you've been keeping inside. And it can be really jarring and really conflictual to be in relationship. And we think from our unconscious, which is this stored data essentially from our life, and then stack on top of that 7 generations back of whatever's happening in our paternal, maternal line. And then stack on top of that, Mark Wolin's work. It didn't start with you, the interstellar and the interstellar aspect of intergenerational trauma, how it literally travels through generations, these emotions. So then when you look at your relationship with your dad, did that inform a closing of your heart, or did that inform an opening of your heart?
I mean, it's open now to my dad, but it took a long time because he was stern dad, very performance-based entrepreneur, achiever, emotions are weak, girly, gay, feminine.
He would actually say these things.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'll give you something to cry about.
Wow.
Shut up, cry baby.
Sounds like a movie character.
Yeah. Yeah. And a great man and just totally jammed up. Right. So and his dad, and like you said, 7 generations. So
yeah.
I just was like, okay, cool. Who do you want me to be then? Oh, an athlete? Okay, cool. I'll get your love if I perform in sports, And then my mom, it was more confusing. It was more kind of push-pull, anxious attachment vibes. Had to take care of her emotionally, make her feel good, So I had this weird download of avoidant attachment, lockdown. And then I actually get connection sometimes with my mom.
Yeah.
But then she goes silent and I freak out. So it makes for a very complicated adult partner.
I've over 800 shows. I've never interviewed someone who's at the top of their field like you that hasn't had mother-father wound that informed their healing path to be a leader.
Yeah.
Have you ever found this to be different?
No, you're spot on. Yeah.
Why do you think that? It feels like some grand mystery in the game here. Like I led us in a prayer before we recorded. And I was like, I'm not praying to a bearded man in the sky. I'm praying to this mystery, to this creator that has the puppeteer strings and is in somehow control, which I surrender to. And then when my ego's in moments where I don't surrender, life becomes really hard.
Amen.
When I don't surrender. But my question for you is, if this is the story for you, and it's actually the story for me too, it's a very similar story, yet uniquely different. And also, you're a podcast host. You've worked with, at this point, probably tens of thousands of people in sessions. And that's not even including the relationship school online, which is like hundreds of thousands of people. The common thread here is that the mess becomes the mission, or the wound becomes that in which we serve from, as long as it doesn't cloud our wisdom. I know these are soliloquies. These are fun things that I'm saying, but my intention with the question is is there any other way? Is there any other way to know where one can lead from unless they have experienced its opposite, especially in relationship?
Yeah, I mean, that's why I'm grateful to my parents, right? Because they created the conditions that gave me a path and gave me a mission. And I'm fucking forever grateful for all the wounds, all the neglect, all the shaming around my emotions, all the weirdness. It's like I would not be talking to you right now if they didn't do exactly what they did. So I'm like, thank you. Right?
That's a really mature viewpoint. So what was the pathway, or how did you start to grok the initial wound becoming a gift? What did that look like? If you've ever blown up your life for no logical reason, congratulations. Your biology works. You're not broken. You're just running an old pattern. After 10 years of podcasting and interviewing 800 plus of the sharpest minds and deepest hearts on planet Earth, I built something simple to help you interrupt these patterns fast. I kept running personally into the same stuff, and audience members would write to me and say, Josh, I'm dealing with the same core 3 things, which are expressed through emotional epigenetics that are our emotional patterns, our unconscious beliefs, and our environment. This self-liberation blueprint is a free training where you get clear on how these 3 areas are blocking your life, and in 10 days, you can move from being stuck and distorted on the inside to clear and on purpose on the outside. The Self-Liberation Blueprint is a 10-day jumpstart that's perfect for the human being that feels stuck, but they just can't figure out why. Now, I built this with no smoke and mirrors. I know in our world, there's a lot of smoke and mirrors when it comes to personal growth and spiritual development. I built this with 24 years of my own health, wellness, and personal development life experience. So I can save you money and save you time and start getting your results as quickly as possible. On your first day, you're gonna go right into a self-assessment where we know exactly where you are and exactly where you get to be. We're gonna take you through a dream vision process and specific breath work to create your life vision that you desire in the future as if it's here right now. All of this is free because I'm here to give it to you as a mentor in the same way that my mentors gave it to me. It is purely just my gift to you. You also get free access to the Liberated Life Tribe, a community of people like you and I that are actually doing the inner work instead of just pretending that they're fine. By the time you're done, you're gonna know exactly where you are in your wellness pentagon, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and financially, and you're gonna have a map, a mindful action plan to move from clarity instead of distortion. This is not therapy for people that are broken. You're not broken. You're just bioenergetically burdened. And I'm here to tell you that removing these burdens is possible. And I believe you can do it. You don't need fixing. You just get to have a clear starting point and a plan that actually works with your biology. If you're ready to move forward with your life without forcing it, join me inside the Self-Liberation Blueprint by heading over to liberatedlife.com. Come join us.
Josh, I'm curious how you did it too. I found for me,
I cried a lot.
yeah. Therapy actually didn't get me there. Therapy was
Talk therapy?
Talk therapy.
Yeah.
And I was doing Gestalt therapy. I'm a trained Gestalt therapist, which was very experiential, which is awesome, actually.
Yeah.
Empty chair work and all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Very much like IFS now, but like more experiential.
Ooh.
And my teachers, who were amazing, it all reinforced the pattern that my parents kind of fucked me up.
Ooh.
And it wasn't until I met John DeMartini. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
I love John. He's been on the show.
Okay, amazing.
He's amazing. He travels the world in a
Totally.
ship.
Yeah, exactly.
Adventurer.
So John finally taught me, he's like, dude, get over it here. Like your parents, you got to see the benefits to all the shit you went through.
Yeah.
And the drawbacks you had your perfect fantasy of the perfect childhood.
Yeah.
And just be grateful for what you got. And it's simply said, but I had to do a lot of work to get to a genuine thank you, I love you to my parents.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I busted my fucking balls to get there.
Mm.
It was not easy. It wasn't just like, oh, okay, which is a bypass, right? If I intellectually understand it and I don't do the work. So now I'm genuinely grateful. I'm just like, thanks, mom and dad. And I try to tell them that often, you know?
What has made you dedicate your life to teaching support in relationships?
I think two things, my pain and the trustworthiness of that journey. And like, I guess this is why I'm here. I guess I'm surrendering to this.
Yeah.
Right. And I've always been that sensitive kid that wanted to help others.
Right.
For whatever reason. I just want to help. I just want to serve. And that wasn't like a switch that someone had to turn on or talk me into, you should live a life of service or, you know, serve God or serve your community. I was always that kid that felt sorry for the kid on the playground getting bullied and, you know,
Me too.
Lending him a hand or whatever.
I have a sense that most of us, I know 5% of the population are psychopathic, right? Is that what the data shows? There's a small section
right, sure.
that's like just crazy. And maybe we're all crazy in certain ways. But when you talk about the kid being bullied on the playground, I think all of us feel that. Mm-hmm. But depending on our home life and our attachment style, we either suppress or repress that feeling sense, that felt sense, or we go into it and then take inspired action to do something about it. It's the relationship we have with ourselves. I flipped open your book this morning and this really hit me the hardest. You said that, or not you said, but you quoted John Wellwood. Sooner or later, relationship brings us to our knees, forcing us to confront the raw and rugged mess of our mental and emotional life. How much of that quote is a spider web that goes back to every single time we abandoned ourselves. That's the cleanup that our woman or our man starts to experience with us. Our cleanup is that quote. Why did you resonate so deeply with that quote to put it in your book?
Well, a number of reasons. John Wellwood's just an amazing, I don't know if you've read any of his books.
I haven't.
He's passed, but he's got some great books. One of them is Imperfect Love, Perfect Relationships, Imperfect Love or something like that. And he's a Buddhist psychotherapist guy. And he just helps us see that relationships are a path, a spiritual path of making messes and cleaning them up and getting to know ourselves. And it's just a great self-discovery process. I mean, it's uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
We were talking about that earlier. Anyway, just inspired by him.
How deep have you gone? For 10 plus years, you were a psychotherapist and you have a master's degree as well in helping human beings understand the self. Whether you can look at the lens of Sigmund Freud, which honestly, the research that I've seen from him recently is connected to some pretty dark stuff.
Yeah.
I like to follow more of the Jungian approach. I'm wearing a philosopher's stone today that I wear every day. And it's this symbology of accepting the current self, recognizing the lower self, and moving through the work to the higher self. That was Jung's lens of being switched on to the philosopher's stone. But essentially it's when you take a base metal and you turn it into gold.
Yeah.
Right? The alchemization process. In order for you to write this book, you had to go through an alchemization process. It's not easy to write a book and be vulnerable and share about your personal life and go through your entire curriculum and all decades work long of your life and put it into a few hundred pages. What did this alchemy process feel like in your body as you were going through the process of writing the book and getting this information out there that can truly change someone's life? We all have conflict.
Yeah.
It's just we're not educated about how to dance with it.
Yeah.
What was the alchemy for you there?
Yeah, I appreciate the question because it tells me how much work you've done to get to where you are, around
thanks.
your own alchemy.
Oh, yeah.
Because only one who is in that or has gone through that can ask that kind of question.
I'm still in it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all are, right? I'm not on the finish line.
No.
There's always I'm on the other side of that hard moment. Oh, and then there's another mountain or another fucking canyon or another challenge I've got to meet.
Yeah.
What was it like? It was beautiful and painful. All of it, there's, and everything in between, waking up is, sometimes I forget how hard it is to wake up and get on the path. And I'm like, God, why can't people just get their shit together and do the thing? And then if I slow down and remember what I had to go through and how much denial I was in for how long, when I finally cracked and it was pain, of course, that had me crack, I began the kind of peeling back the onion thing and going into the Jungian shadow thing and all of the layers. And it's not fun, man. But I felt more alive crying for the first time hysterically in a therapy session as a client than I did years prior, having all these friends and recognition and popularity and status and thinking I was cool. And it felt so good to just cry and heave sobs and snot coming out of my nose. And the lady's like, session's over, dude. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm still going here. I need to just let this out for years, because I was so locked up. So it's very alive. I don't know if that's your experience. When you started to kind of wake up, was it an emotional?
You know what it is for me continually? It's been 10 years now of podcasting. In 2026, when people are with us now, it'll be the 11th year of podcasting.
Yeah.
And the more that I do it, the more that I'm challenged in my own confidence, in my own seat at the table, because the deeper I go, the more I start to see the layers that I've never seen. And so for a white belt or a brown belt, I'm the most confident person in the room. But for the black belts, the ancient mystics or the people that have been doing it for 40 years, I'm on year 11, right?
Yeah.
People that have been doing it for multiple decades, I find myself asking, God, is it all worth it sometimes? And if I'm not careful, I can fall into this trap of, what's the point? What's the point of all this suffering? What is the point of being a child to a bipolar mother, of being a child to a man who was so disconnected, head and heart, that he left home when I was 2 years old, in a baby carriage, right? These aren't judgments of parents.
No,
these aren't judgments.
What happened.
It's just factual, right?
It's just what happened.
And so,
wow,
the process for me, and it seems like you, and it honestly feels like most of us. There are occasional anomalies where their parents are just super dialed in, and they have a felt sense, and they're able to communicate with their children. They exist, and I
absolutely.
think. I have a sense, I wonder how you feel. I have a sense by us, if you believe in reincarnation, if you believe that we get to live multiple lives and we learn the lessons to get out of the samsara and get into the actual reality of the blessing and the beauty of this place, then we can we can choose those parents where, hey, this lifetime, this go around, I'm actually not going to suffer as much. But it's only through the previous lifetimes of that earned wisdom from suffering that allows us to essentially choose or pick and choose the life that involves less suffering. Do you resonate with that?
Yeah, I want to comment on that. I want to come back and double click on the darkness comment you made.
Yep.
Yes and no. I don't, quote, believe in reincarnation. I just, because I don't know, but the door is wide open to that being a thing. Yep. Absolutely. What I do experience with clients and psychedelics and working with people as long as I have is, it seems like there's definitely ancestral trauma that gets handed down through our DNA and cells. Yeah. That's without a question, that feels accurate to me. I have it, every generation's trying to move it forward a little bit, right? A little bit more, wake up a little more. So there's less pain perhaps in the next generation for my kids. And I'm certainly committed to that as a dad. That's what I'd say. I'm curious about you and reincarnation.
I feel the truth of what you're saying. And that's why for the past year specifically, I've been going so deep into the piano keys on top of the genome, the epigenome, and how emotional expression through generation exhibits either trauma or trust. There was this study done, I don't know if you've heard about it. Ressler was the scientist and the scientific wing, and they would shock male rodents with electricity and have them smell cherry blossoms at the same time. Mm-hmm. And they measured the excitatory response in the offspring's neural system for hypervigilance 2 generations down. So that means scientifically validated. You can cue an epigenome to turn on what's called the FKBP5, the part of the epigenetic switch, if you will, the chemical messenger that methylates to put someone in a stress response. And I found that fascinating. And then I dove deeper, and I'm like, wow, some of these scientific publications are saying 7 generations. And then, of course, I looked at the Native American wisdom that has nothing to do with science. And they're saying exactly what science is trying to prove. So I resonate on a super deep level with what you're sharing, because I think that's why you and I are here. It's not like we're better. I don't need a medal for it. Yeah. I don't need acknowledgement for it. I just want to heal it because I know it, because I can see it, because I can feel it. Ever since I was a little boy, I'm like, what is taxation? What are you guys so angry about? Like, why is everyone fighting? What is this bullshit on planet Earth?
Yeah.
What is this crazy illusion that we're all in? And when I get to the bottom of it, I just choose the meaning of my suffering. I choose the meaning of my suffering that is stemming from the wound of my mother and father through childhood. Not as a curse or not as me rejecting them, but me actually loving them and learning how to diffuse my ego and integrate my ego so that I can love them, so that I have the capacity to love them without judgment. Because if I hold on to resentment, I'm the only one getting burned.
Yeah, that's right.
And so that's an extrapolation of what we're doing here with the tennis match. I want to flip it back to you. Have you had a moment where you realized, I've had many, you're holding on to resentment so deeply that you start to realize it's making you sick? You start to realize it's putting you in dis-ease.
Yeah.
Have you had a moment like that?
Yeah, absolutely. With my parents. I mean, after I started going to therapy, I wasn't resentful that I was aware of until I went to therapy. And then I was like, oh shit, my parents are a big fucking problem. And I was so angry, and I cut my mom off for many months out of my life. I said, I need a break from our relationship because we were so emotionally kind of enmeshed. And my dad, I just felt so hurt and angry and resentful about how he played it with me that, I was like, we need to go to therapy. And I tried to kind of change them, which of course is one of our steps in the belt system of personal growth, is we got to kind of not only make our parents wrong, but try to get them to change.
We have to fix them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got to fix you. And
it's
you
harder
guys need
for us
to wake
as men
up.
too. We want to fix shit.
Oh yeah. You guys are the problem.
Yeah.
Come on. All you need to do is go to therapy. And that of course backfired. And I feel like I nearly lost my parents because I was so resentful. And they hung in there, dude. To credit to my parents, they just were so patient with me and just loved me, which was a big teaching, actually. To have your kid coming at you, blaming you for all their problems and for the past, and they didn't validate my feelings. They sucked at listening skills, but they did listen, and they just loved me. That's badass. That's pretty big of them,
Yeah.
I have so much respect for them.
There can be a lens of reductionism in all forms of relationship and emotional intelligence, I found, where people like to say one blanket statement like, just love your parents. Just do that one thing.
Yeah.
Well, if you just choose love over fear, Josh. Yeah. Like it's on my wedding ring, love over fear. And I'm like, I know this on an intellectual level, okay? But when it comes down to the fire of relationship, because relationship can be a fire, doesn't always have to be.
Yeah.
What does relationship mean to you? The true essence. If you were to encapsulate and describe the essence of relationship, what is that really?
Wow. Just off the top of my head, togetherness, family, closeness, and space, like somehow being with, not doing this thing alone. Those are some guesses. So
it's interesting. The etymology of the word comes from Middle English, It says the state of being related, its roots trace to Latin referere, to bear back, forming relate and relation, initially referring to connections by blood and marriage or stories, with the modern romantic sense emerging around the 1940s. I find that interesting, a state of being related or in relation. And I think about a phrase that you and I have heard a lot, which is intimacy.
Yeah.
And the Native Americans say intimacy, especially in relationship, is into me you see. So I would define it very closely to what you said of what relationship really is. It's this shared spaciousness or shared relational container, if you will, where we can be our authentic selves without projection or judgment, with full acceptance and compassion for who the other person truly is, and to celebrate and love and be in joy of who they are, free from our projections.
That sounds like a very evolved definition.
I've got the mental part down. It's the felt sense and the embodiment of what I'm sharing that I'm still working on.
Yeah.
Are you in the same space?
Oh yeah. Like I don't think there's a place where, maybe there is, where I could live what you just said.
Yeah.
Like all the time, you know, just consistently, this is how I roll. Because other people are so unpredictable and messy and can't help but project, and I can't help but, when triggered, project and go into my patterns. And so it's more like just this evolutionary dance of being with what happens with us when we're together, and what is this thing? And I had a teacher, Bruce Tift, actually say the definition of intimacy, according to him, and I thought I adopted it for myself, which was, it's a dance between separateness and closeness. Because so many people think intimacy just equals closeness. It's like people defining love as support only without challenge. So whereas DeMartini taught me love is support and challenge, intimacy is closeness and separateness. And I really like holding the polarity in intimacy, because it's true. It's like you and I can't be close all the fucking time. We would have a fight just to get space eventually.
Yeah,
right?
it'd be like unhealthy enmeshment.
Yeah.
Well, because of my upbringing and the story that I'm creating for myself now is that I have a secure anchor that is emotionally regulated. And I also have the spaciousness to not judge myself when I'm not emotionally regulated, which then frees me up from the shame dragon. And I don't have to be 365, 24/7, perfectly emotionally regulated in order to feel like a trustworthy leader. Right. That was a big breakthrough that just recently came on. My team and I did an exercise, and I'm sure you've done this quite a bit. It's on the screen right now. It's the relationshipschool.com. And this is the way that yourself and your wife have served so many people. And I think about my relationship with Josh, you know, him just as a being, as a young child, as an adolescent, as a man, now a father of two, and a husband, and a lover, and an entrepreneur, and a storyteller. Like, there's a lot here for me, man. And the more that I start to hold, the more pressure it puts on any microscopic or big holes in my bucket of self. In other words, the more capacity I aim to hold, the more I feel where I'm not integrated. And it's taken a long time for me to not feel, to not judge myself when I feel shame about these holes. The faster I can feel my shame and the faster I can move through the Hawkins scale, the more freedom I have. It's the fucking ultimate code in life. It's like literally feelings are, all I'm here to do is figure out how to feel my feelings authentically and express them honestly and help all of us do the same. That's kind of why I'm here.
Amen.
That's really it.
Well said.
And I do it in my own way, and so do you. So from this high level lens of relationship being a school, how has that leadership of yourself and your wife in leading the relationship school shown you the holes in your bucket, or shown you the holes in yourself? And how have you seen those without judgment or holding on to shame? And how have you worked through some of those in becoming a leader?
Yeah, well, first, your comment on capacity is helpful, because I also, over time, have increased my capacity, and kids and a marriage will increase your capacity.
At scale.
At scale.
Yeah.
And you can resist it and clamp down and get defensive and try good luck to not feel. That. And the more you don't feel, the more suffering you're creating for everybody. I just see that so clearly now. So I loved what you said. Yeah, I mean, the relationship school has just been the moment you declare, I am going to found a school on relationships, you're basically calling in a lot of relationship challenges to confront the egoic claim that you are a teacher of relationships.
Sure.
So initially I had to say, every time I got my ass handed to me by my students or courses or whatever, I'd say, okay, I'm a student and a teacher. Because the fact is, I teach. I'm a teacher. I'm like a school teacher.
Mm-hmm.
This is what my jam, all right? I know
Mm-hmm.
a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also a student, which means I'm in the dojo, learning, getting beat up, falling down, getting back up, falling down, getting back up. And so those holes are, they're just discovery. It's like, oh, here's another gap. Here's another place. And initially there was resistance to that, as if I could get on the summit. I think I did have a belief that I could get to a non-triggered place in my evolution. I really thought that, enough meditation,
Mm-hmm,
enough therapy, enough personal work. There's a summit and I'm on it. I thought that. And of course, that's not my experience at all. And now what I believe and as my experience is, for the rest of my life, I will keep discovering these little pockets and I'll just embrace it and go, okay, this is what I'm working with now.
It's like the people that climb Everest. It's some kind of egoic thing where they're like, well, if I can climb the tallest peak in the entire world, I think it's Everest. If not, it's up there.
Yeah.
Maybe Meru is the one. There's one.
There's a
way.
debate right now, but I think it's been Everest forever.
So let's say a man or a woman wants to climb the tallest mountain in the world. Is that coming from the joy of climbing and the joy of seeing the highest perspective on earth? Or is it coming from this saturated ego that says, if I can climb the tallest mountain on earth, then I've arrived.
Yeah.
Then I can, by me doing that, then I'll be perfectly safe in any situation because I can climb to the highest peak and have the highest perspective, ego says.
Yeah.
I think body, heart, soul says, there's no way to guarantee safety in this world. I create my own safety in relationship, in trigger, in conflict. But there's no way, I'm curious how you feel about this, there's no way to guarantee safety. It's an illusion that the ego wants to have a certificate of ultimate safety and freedom at all times. Yeah. How does that paradox show up in relationship that really dissolves and creates space and kills intimacy in relationships?
Yeah.
This ego wanting the certificate of safety.
Yeah, I'm with you. That's great. I see it a lot in people, especially in therapy spaces. There can be it's got to be safe. I need to know this is a safe place. And it's like, I get that on a relative level. Like, of course, this is confidential and I'm not going to go share what Josh just told me on social media and reveal his secrets because I don't have consent, and I get it. But what you're saying is so true that like, well, you can't, who knows? Like there's no guarantee here that there's going to be safety forever, or even when you get married, people have this fantasy about I'm finally safe. Or all the entrepreneurs that you've probably interviewed thought they were safe, or they reach the metaphorical summit of financial freedom or whatever, and they're fucking miserable.
Yeah. They hate their life.
They hate their life. And I've worked with all these mountaineers and entrepreneurs and high achievers, and it's the same story every time. They all had a fantasy that the summit, the metaphorical summit, would provide relief, safety, security, happiness, you name fill in the adjective, right? And then they all get their ass handed to them because they find out, thankfully from their own experience, that that's not, wow, that wasn't it. Shit, now what? And then to your point about meaning, that's what's so beautiful about what you said about meaning. Viktor Frankl and all the teachers around meaning, it's like, until you can make meaning out of that journey, even the journey of getting to the summit and being disillusioned and hurt by the fact that it didn't solve your problems. If you can make meaning out of that, wow, then it turns into beauty, right? Then we're back to what all the great teachers talk about, which is it's the journey, not the destination.
I had a guest on the show, Shelley Lefko, and she said, people look at life as if it's a ruler of 12 inches, but really we're only living on the last 3/4 of an inch. And I found that to be really profound because we want to have, and I say we, I just mean the collective ego. We want to have, from a collective ego standpoint, this guaranteed path that is proved by what Tony Robbins says, success leaves clues. So as long as we follow in the footsteps or do the thing that was laid out from us by template, which is why what's eroding right now in society at scale is the decentralization of education, of therapy, of every industry is just getting broken down to its knees. I think that's really good because there's an inherent false premise in following a structure or following what has worked in the past versus following intuitively, authentically what my soul is directing me on now. There's a difference between, I feel, a proven path that worked in one generation versus a path that we're trailblazing in ours. We're similar in age. From a relationship standpoint, what is now in 2026, what is being trailblazed? And what are you feeling from your school, from your students, in your marriage as a father? Like what is being called forth and trailblazed from a leader like yourself that is going to impart that wisdom that wants to be actualized? What is that right now?
Yeah, well, as you were talking, I was thinking, because I was going to ask you, maybe this can be a question for both of us, is for people to find their way, their authentic way, let's say, versus following the sheep and just doing what we're told or doing what has always been done.
Yeah.
I mean, how can a person do that if they're not connected to themselves? Right? How can one find their way and actually know and trust themselves and their own inner guidance if they're disconnected? I don't think it can happen. I mean, really, at the end of the day, the work I'm doing is helping people move from disconnection to connection. And then when we get triggered, we're disconnected, here's how you get reconnected. So there's the interpersonal disconnection to connection, and then there's the cosmic, we're somehow disconnected from everything and we feel alone, even though we're surrounded by people and AI and we have all the friends on social media and all that, but we still feel alone. That's a person who's disconnected, and I think is going to have a very hard time finding answers. And so they'll look for answers outside themselves instead of doing the work to find out who they are and connect to themselves and their own knowing. Because I think the gold is in the leaders of the future, to me, are people that I want to follow, that I want to be around, are people who are connected, like connected to themselves.
And when you say connected to themselves, do you mean somatically, head to heart? Like, what do you actually mean when you say they are connected to themselves?
I mean that somatically, spiritually, psychologically, and embodied. I'm in my heart. I have access to my feelings, to my heart, to my body. I know what's occurring inside. I can look inside and be like, yeah, I feel sad today. I feel hurt. I feel scared. I feel angry. Emotions are a great way to connecting. It's that kind of like, if I can be inside the home of my body and my experience, my wife would say my experience, probably that's a good way to talk about connected, is I am inside my experience and I can talk from it, not about it, but from it.
Yeah.
Like I feel sad, I feel hurt, whatever. That's what I'm talking about. And we're raised in a culture still, and a more disconnected culture, that with handing kids phones and screens from a very early age, like kids are just passively entertained and actually don't know what a feeling is. It's very scary.
Yeah, it is.
To think of the disconnected, it's like that movie WALL-E where everybody's sitting at a computer. It feels like that's what's going down. I'm like, oh shit. So many hungry ghosts out there who are disconnected, and we're all vulnerable then to all the propaganda and marketing and all the bullshit when we're not inside.
What do you feel is the biggest price that is paid by humanity by us not being connected to self?
I mean, I think we're seeing it. It is just fractured, divided society, divided culture, where we want to fight each other instead of work with each other. And a lot of pain. People are suffering, just deep suffering. It's like exacerbated suffering at scale.
I would piggyback and say the price that we're paying to not be connected to self, individually and collectively at massive scale, is that there is a reality where if we're not conscious and careful, that this reality could be actualized. And that reality is dystopia. like true dystopia, where social credit scores are a thing. Monitoring every single breath you take is a thing. Ingesting machines that track your biometrics and reporting them to the government is a thing. All these things already exist. I don't say this to scare people.
Yeah.
I say this because that is a reality that you can slide into, or you can, like a frog being boiled, be boiled into it without you knowing it, unless you start taking a conversation like this serious and letting it attach to your heart and soul. Because when we're disconnected from self, it's fucking impossible to connect with others. It's not, I can only give what I have.
Yeah.
I can only receive what space I have to receive it. These aren't just poetically waxing comments I'm saying. It's real scientific proof and spiritual proof that if I'm closed down and I have a heart wall that's so vast that nothing can penetrate it, I will attach to an egoic story that it's every woman I've ever been with, because all these women aren't trustable. Yet I'm the one with a brick-sized wall around my heart that I've never been taught how to crack for the men and for the women who want their men, who desire their men to start cracking this thing around their heart.
Yeah.
Which is essentially the medicine that will heal the collective and allow us not to get to dystopia. No pressure, guys. But fucking seriously, it's the medicine that will prevent us from sliding into this crazy Terminator world.
Yeah.
How do we start to crack the wall around the heart?
Well, again, if we go to the roots here, for me, it's parenting. Parents have to raise kids differently. So that's one answer. The other answer is, what can we adults do? So I'll start with the parenting. Again, as I said earlier, I just don't think parents even see that they're raising disconnected kids, because they're disconnected. You cannot raise a connected kid if you're a disconnected parent. And a lot of parents, in my judgment, are disconnected. It's not their fault.
Yeah.
They're not bad people. They just don't know. It's the water they're swimming in, and they can't even see it. And so that's why they look the other way when they hand their kid an iPad at age 2, and they just let the iPad sort of call the shots as a pacifier to raise their kids and calm their kids on an airplane or in the car or whatever. It's just lazy. That's what disconnected people do. When you're connected, it's more work to be present.
It's way more work.
It's way more fucking work.
It's probably 5 times more work.
At least.
At least 5.
At least.
Yeah.
And it requires a level of rigor and engagement that a lot of people they're tired.
Yeah.
You know, people are exhausted. They have diseases. They're overwhelmed at work. They're feeling stressed on so many levels. So I get it. It's hard. But if you want to wake up, it's a serious path. It's not for everybody. It's deep business to raise a kid in a good way. So that's what I'd say to kind of solve the meta problem. And then for us people out in the world who are disconnected, the fastest way, I was a hardcore meditator for years. My wife is hardcore yogi, and I love those paths. And the fastest way into connection is relationship. It's looking you in the eye right now and just saying, Josh, I feel sad. I feel scared. I feel alone over here. Just to tell the truth about my experience. Or if I'm not even aware of that, I could say, I feel numb. I don't know what I'm feeling, but that's honest, right? And honesty and telling the truth about one's experience is the path to another person, and looking them in the eye is the path back into connection. It's faster than meditation, in my opinion. It's faster than yoga. It's faster than exercise. It's like immediate, especially if the person's pretty present. But 2 people can pull each other into presence, into connection pretty quickly.
What you're describing, somebody mentally gets. The felt sense of what you're saying is what brings up the fear. Because if mentally we could just apply that template you said, then conflict wouldn't really be a thing. We would just be one mind talking to another mind. But we're talking to bodies,
who remind us of our parents.
So I was thinking about when you said it's 5 times harder, or I said that and you said it maybe more. When I'm at like 8 o'clock, this just happened last night.
Yeah.
8 o'clock, Nova wakes up. He went to bed at 6:30. Then he wakes up at 10. Then he wakes up at 2. And I go in the next room and I'm like completely exhausted. And in the middle of the night, I say, Nova, I'm screaming, Nova, what is it? What do you need?
Yeah.
And I'm talking to him as if he can even understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
His neuroregulation doesn't work like mine.
Yeah.
So it's like It's easy for me to sit here when I'm not triggered and explain the foolishness of my behavior.
Yeah.
It's very easy for us in reflection. That's why they say hindsight is 20/20, right?
Yeah.
I'm bringing up a parenting example. So how can I approach that differently? To the degree that I am underslept, undernourished, overstressed, disconnected being a big one.
Yeah.
And also feeling isolated or alone, like those 5 big buckets, and there's probably many more, but those are the 5 that came up. To the degree that those buckets are empty or overloaded is the degree in which I'm going to have the capacity to respond to my environment instead of react to my environment. And every time, 100% of the time, I react to my environment. It's coming from some deep amygdala survival program that's saying, I'm tired, can you shut the fuck up? Or I'm overwhelmed, can you get the fuck out of my face? Like, this is the language that I notice my lower self uses. There's a lot of cursing in it. There's a lot of judgment. There's a lot of projection.
Anger.
And my question for you is, how can we navigate relationships, especially the title of your book, how to work through conflict in your high stakes relationship? Intimate marriage and being a father and even business associates, these are high stakes relationships. These are the ones where when you're tired, when you're overwhelmed, when you're feeling isolated, it matters the most for you not to react and to choose to respond. What is the first step on the staircase there? To not be in pure reactivity when we're already depleted and be in emotional response.
How old's Nova again?
He's 4.
And
then my daughter's 2.
Okay. So just quick parenting tip, take it or leave it.
I'll probably take it.
And you know, you're in a state, right? So it's when we're in a state, we say things that
we're drunk.
We're kind of drunk.
Yeah.
You don't want to ask a 4-year-old or a 2-year-old what they need.
I know.
Right? You know that. You basically said that.
It was very
just a reminder for the people listening.
For sure. Don't ask your kids why you're feeling something.
Yeah. It's just they're too young, right? As they get older, they can answer those kind of questions. But this is an important question because it applies to conflict in any high stake relationship. That's a great example of in the middle of the night, you're just completely gassed. And you got nothing in the tank and you react. And that's how we are a lot. And so the best advice I can give is to not get too down on yourself about those moments if you can get good at repair. So repair is the antidote to everything, in my opinion. Because parents are going to make a lot of mistakes. They're going to raise their voice at their kids. They're going to yell. They're going to neglect. They're going to hand them the phone. They're going to do a lot of things. And we're going to do that with our partners also. And so we can't do a lot about the amygdala thing. We can learn mindfulness, meditation. We can do a lot of things to get better, and you do all those things. But the best medicine is getting good, very good, and very skilled at the cleanup because you're going to make mistakes. So how well can you just make amends the next day? How well can you continue to own your outbursts with your kids? It's like, hey, honey, I raised my voice at you last night, and I just wanted to say I'm sorry. That must have been scary. It's not your fault. You didn't do anything wrong. I'm just tired and out of it, and that's no excuse. But I'm going to work on that. Anytime we can repair, and there's really 4 steps in the repair, which is just reflect back. If this is in an adult relationship, kid works with kids too. With kids, it would be like, wow, you're really mad. I see that you got really mad. I see that you wanted the toy. You didn't get that thing. And of course you're mad. Validate the feelings. Of course you feel that way. Makes sense you feel that way. And then to own our part as adults. Yeah, I got angry. I raised my voice. I scared you. I did the thing. No defensiveness, no explaining. And then empathize as much as we can. That just must be hard for you to be that frustrated, and I get it. And and then we can do the adult version of that with our partners because we're going to screw it up. So repair, to me, if you can get good at that, it's the balm.
Yeah, it's
for
everything.
Almost everything.
It's literally everything.
Yeah.
So then one could feel in a way so that such they could go to their wife or husband, boyfriend or girlfriend, and be able to use this language. How much of NVC or nonviolent communication has informed the questions that you brought forth when you addressed the repair process?
None, because I haven't read the book.
Okay.
And never studied with Marshall Rosenberg, but many friends have, and I've had a lot of friends say, or students say, and people say,
it seems
it's kind of like MVC.
Yeah, different.
Or it's kind of like Harville and Helen Hendricks Imago, dialogue. And I'm like, cool, whatever. I don't know. This is just what I've come up with working with couples for 20 years is just a couple steps, because I just see people, the best of intentions, people just cannot listen when they're triggered.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, then you need to get very good at owning how you can't listen when you're triggered and then clean it up. So here's how to do that. And people, it's a skill.
Yeah.
Anyone can learn it. Anyone can learn this.
Wow. This is why I love podcasting. I had a reverse engineering question when you were talking right now. And it is, if the end result is the practicum of being a master at repair, and we just train on that and focus on that, and also give ourselves grace to feel shame and process lower density emotions so that they don't hold us hostage, which then actually paradoxically recreates more reactivity. If we're doing those two things and we're just aware of those two capacities, then inherently it would seem like if the end destination is just to become a master at repair and to remove all obstacles that allows us to embody that skill set, then that gets to be really the primary focus. Because I believe, and tell me if I'm right here or if you have something that you'd like to add, what feels true for me when you're describing this is if that's my focus at being a master of repair, then I can really practice being in acceptance of my imperfection of my own triggers.
That's right. You got it.
Which would then inform me being a master of repair, which would then almost unconsciously give me a window when I am triggered that I've practiced being in repair so much that it may become a substrate or a fuel source in some way for me to be less reactive from an end destination loop perspective. I know that was a lot of words.
No, I like how you're putting this together. I like how your mind works. That sounds really spot on to me.
How would you describe what I'm starting to understand?
Yeah, that, and look, we need to make the disclaimer always that we're not talking about abuse, extreme abuse, violence, like, I'm so good at repair that I can excuse my shitty behavior. We're not talking about that.
Yeah.
Right? Get good at repair that it's just sort of like, I don't care if I hit my wife or my kid, and because I'm good at repair.
Right.
It's like, look, I think most people understand that abuse, neglect, extreme neglect, abuse of any kind is not okay.
Yeah.
Right. So we're talking, I just have to say that.
Yeah.
Then we can apply this sort of, what you're saying is, if I can get very, very good at repair, I can be less hard on myself about the mistakes I make in conflict, the raising of voice, the defensiveness, the blame, the judgments, the kind of shitty things that we do to our partner occasionally. It's like, I do those things and my partner does too. And you know what? If we can get good at repair, they actually soften. It takes the edge off.
Yeah.
And then we can go, I can see you as a imperfect human being and stop expecting you to bat it out of the park every time we have a conversation. I can be like, Josh. And then I remember where Josh comes from and where Jayson comes from and what they grew up with. And I'm like, got it. It makes sense that you act this way sometimes. And you're not wrong, Josh. You're not a bad person. And that's where you get to with repair. You start to open your heart again and you can see your person for who they are, an imperfect, beautiful human.
Sure. Have you seen those Chinese vases where they crack them on purpose and then they use gold to mend them?
Oh, yeah.
And they become more valuable once they've been cracked. I feel like we're that vase.
Yeah, that's right. That's
because
good.
if you look at somebody that hasn't been through much, you can kind of feel it. You're like, this person was born in Hollywood and they've never worked a day in their life and they have manicured everything and like you can just tell. But we never know what type of neglect somebody might be going through. We never know the real story. Our ego can look at someone and make a heuristic of them or a shortcut of them.
For sure.
And project we do it all the time.
Yeah.
And I think the real lens that we're all working on is this lens of loving and accepting someone for who they are while also holding the other world of our preferences and our healthy boundaries.
Yeah, nice.
And these two worlds are really challenging.
Really challenging.
I'm sure this comes up a ton at the relationship school. How do you teach people to hold the two worlds in that regard?
Yeah, that's a good observation. I teach people that it's okay to have expectations and preferences. And I ask people, the way to bring it up with your partner is reasonable requests.
Okay.
Keyword is reasonable.
Sure.
Given who you are.
That's how you describe expectation, a reasonable request?
No, because an expectation is something that's not negotiable.
Okay.
That's something I'm not, like monogamy.
Right.
My wife and I are in a monogamous relationship. I have an expectation that she doesn't sleep with other guys, period.
Even if you take 12 ayahuascas in one day?
That's right. Even if I'm on hallucinogenics and I'm
What
drunk.
if you were working out and God told you to get 2 women pregnant?
Okay, that's going to be a harder sell.
Okay. Right.
Exactly.
What if all of a sudden you got a cosmic download and you were in Egypt and you were told that 4 women should bear your children?
Yeah, it's bullshit, right? So I would say, look, honey, we're done. It's finished for us. Yeah, so it's okay. People say, oh, you should, like Tony Robbins, expectations, you should never have an expectation of another human being. And I'm like, why not?
I love that. I love that.
Why not?
I've always felt the way you feel.
Yeah.
Expectations are demonized in personal growth.
They are.
They're demonized. And it's like, well, why does the word exist?
Yeah, it's like I have expectations of my kids.
That's right.
You work hard. You don't treat other people like shit. You own your part when there's a fight. You don't act like a complete asshole at school. You pull your weight when you're on a team. Duh. So I have expectations of my partner, and one of them is that we always repair and that she works on herself. And she does. And it's funny because I don't even need to have this because it's this looming expectation. She's just who she is. I didn't need to change her or put that expectation on her. It's who she is.
Yeah.
Right? Because a lot of people find themselves in a relationship with someone who isn't like that. They don't work on themselves. They don't own their part. And they're like, and then they try to go into a project of changing their partner, which is a disaster. Anyway, yes, expectations are good. Reasonable requests are things like, hey, Josh, I just have a reasonable request. It's pretty activating given my nervous system and where I come from to have you constantly leave your dishes in the sink. Let's say if that's what you did, that was one of your kind of unconscious patterns. It's a reasonable request to ask of a partner. But I wouldn't have an expectation because that's silly to put such emphasis on such a small thing.
Yeah.
Dishes in the sink. Are you really going to ruin your marriage because of dishes in the sink? No. So you can make reasonable requests. And a reasonable request means you also have to be okay with a no. I'm not going to change that. But if you love your person and your roommates and teammates and lovers soulmates. And best friends and soulmates, I give a shit about the impact of my behavior on you. So I should care about dishes in the sink. Right. And that it bums you out.
Let's talk about another fallacy in relationships and personal development that I'm sure drives you wild. It does me. There are schools of thought out there from influencers, specifically on Instagram and TikTok, that say these blanket statements that hooks into validating someone's unconsciousness, and it pits man against woman, woman against man, feminism versus red pill. It's really atrocious the way I see it happen. And here's how I see it happen. Someone will say something like this: ladies, if your man doesn't provide 100% emotional safety and containment for you, then it's his work to do, and you know the queen that you are.
Right.
These type of validating statements. And then on the male side, there's the red pill, where Andrew Tate says women are only going to align with their feelings, and women are only going to be as connected to their feelings in a 5-minute period as they are loyal to their feelings. Women are only loyal to their feelings. And it's like a lot of these things can be true in moments, but they're spoken as if they're the total experience of life. Yeah. Do you see this? These phrases that hook into people's pain and validate their pain, which becomes a shadow to allow them to never do their work.
Absolutely. Yeah. Here's another one. I just heard this the other day. If you're a man, you need to be, quote, in your masculine, which helps the woman feel safe. And this is a popular one, right? In Austin and Boulder. And the feminine can only relax if you're taking charge as the masculine and you're directive. So you can't be an anxious man, and they conflate masculine with gender. You can't be an anxious man, anxiously attached man, because you should be different. You should be more manly, more avoidant, more, in your power, because that you're not in your power. It's like, dude, this is my fucking nervous system. I had no choice. Like, this is what the family I grew up in, like, hello. So I get I get a little bristly with any kind of reductionistic blanket statements. And I want to be called out or called forward if I do that, because I try not to do that. And I don't know, I might do that at times. But yeah, it's problematic. Tony Robbins is another one I saw the other day was, no one triggers you, you trigger you. And I'm like, what if I kicked you in the fucking nuts? That's only me? You know? Oh, okay. Yeah. It's my fault that I did that? It's like, wait a minute. Anyway, you know, and again, we lack context on social media. So
yeah.
There's a lot here.
I'm assuming that account, whoever said that, has like millions or more followers.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, because kind of black and white thinking posts do really well.
I have a sense, I'm not going to put people on blast. I know exactly the person you're talking about. And this person, in my opinion, is doing a massive disservice to specifically women, because their target audience is women. And the crux of my question that I was asking you was the pitfalls that men and women can fall into if they're unconscious about their pain being weaponized against them.
Yeah.
Essentially what happens is someone will have a wound that's in a shadow. And in IFS, it could be described as a firefighter that informs a protector that is hiding in exile, AKA the part of our wounded inner child that is scared of feeling something. Instead of these influencers doing the real capitulation and real designated work that's required to safely unpack this stuff, they say these blanket statements that gets them a ton of people hooked by their wound, weaponize their wound, and then they make a bunch of money off these people from selling $17 save your life PDFs.
Yeah.
It's absolutely disgusting. And yes, it does trigger me, because I think about how much pain I've been in my life, and I could have, like 10 years ago or however long ago, I could have fallen into that trap. And it's like, God, it's wolves that are feeding on sheep here, but these sheep are not bad people, and I'm not better just because I have the awareness. But for Christ's sake, I have the awareness. Can we just have the courage as men and as leaders to fucking call out the Danny Morells, to call out these people that are so evolved and that have it all figured together, but yet their shadow is operating in ways that they don't even know they don't know.
Yeah.
And I have my stuff too, but I'm not making claims like these men are making. Yeah. And these aren't bad people, by the way. These are great people that have good intentions. It's just so palpable for us on the outside to see the shadow, because we're not that self. We're this self. And I'm sure people could cut up my podcast and dig into me and say the same things, but you know what? I would be willing to look at it.
Right.
I would be willing to be like, wow.
Yeah, let's cut this up.
Help me understand my way of being so that I can be more loving, and I can not be the prey that preys on the sheep myself.
Yeah.
Do you grok with this?
That's why I'm fucking married, man. And that's why I'm in a men's group. That's why I have deep, close friends to track and check me when I'm asleep, when I'm acting out, when I want to, quote, get away with something, you know? And my wife actually, I had a post, I don't know when, last 6 months that I put up, and she was like, that was pretty cringe. And I was like, I got so defensive, dude. I was like, what?
What was the post?
Let me see if I can recall. But I got really defensive, and I was like, okay, let me check myself there. And I sat with it for a couple of days, and really I can count on my wife almost all the time to to just check me, you know?
To be an oracle.
Yeah, when I get kind of fired up and I want to say something in the moment, and I don't sleep on it. It's like sending the email. You should sleep on the email for 24 hours before you send a feisty email. Yeah. That kind of rule. Yeah. It was like I just posted it. Because I was like, I'm being myself.
Right.
And she was like, okay, cool. And it was great, because I had to slow down and go, yeah, I left it up. But I was like, if I post that again, I will add nuance. I won't come in so strong.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what it was, honestly. I'm trying to recall it. But
okay.
Yeah. Anyway, that's what I'm saying. Marriage, men's groups, accountability.
Yeah. And
we all have a shadow.
And look, I want to presence my reactivity as well, because I think the reason that I feel so passionate about people being taken advantage of is because in the past I have allowed myself to be taken advantage of.
Exactly.
And I can connect with 10, 15, 20 years ago version of Josh, who would have sat at the table and lapped up everything these guys are saying.
Yeah.
But now, because of what I've been through and because of what I know and what I'm conscious of, I can see the distortion. especially the sexual distortion in Austin, in LA, in major metropolis. There seems to be this distortive energy that is God experiencing God's self in unlimited ways that I'll never know the answer to, which is a whole nother podcast. But God gets to experience God's self in these unlimited ways that creates loving relationships, men who write books, men who lead conversations with the sole intention of connecting to themselves and others. And then the paradox is that it creates this distortion where the purity isn't necessarily better than the distortion, but the purity, in my opinion, at least is wanting to connect with the pure essence of love, with the pure essence of God. The distortion is a roundabout way of getting there. But yet the paradox is that without the purity and the distortion, neither one could exist.
Yeah.
How much of this duality conversation exists in your work with the relationship school?
It's all the time. My way of saying that is there's just a shadow that's here all the time. And people sometimes want to see the world the way they want to see it, their distorted way. And this is where denial comes in. Like a lot of people don't even know they're doing it. Some people are consciously manipulating others, right? And taking their money. Other people literally have no idea that they're doing what they're doing. I've experienced that myself, doing things that I was in denial about.
And they've built a story and a structure of yes people around them that constantly validate their blindness.
Yeah, that's right. And so that kind of guru mentality, it's really interesting. I've watched so many spiritual teachers fall over the years, for the last 20 years because of that distortion field.
Look at Osho. Good God.
Yeah. Look at Trungpa Rinpoche. Look at John Friend of Anusara Yoga, Andrew Cohen. There's been a lot of spiritual teachers that, end up, of course, sleeping with their students.
They get sucked into the distortion.
Yeah. And then their shadow co-ops the whole situation. One of my spiritual teachers had the same thing happen. So it seems to be ego can't help itself but to co-opt any fucking thing for its own gain.
Wow. Well, God help me, knock on wood. I have zero authentic desire to be famous.
Yeah.
Zero.
Right on.
I don't know what it's like to be in their shoes. I don't know what it's like to hold that capacity of that many people. Like we have momentum for our podcast and our movement, but we're not at that size or scale of these people. And so who am I to inherently judge the totality of who these people are? I'm not judging the totality of who they are because I have understanding and compassion that when I'm at that capacity, maybe I would pay the devil a little bit to make more money because I have these things to pay for. I don't know. I'm not at that point. But what I'm getting at here is the conflict that arises in ourself as we meet the demands of our environment, whether it's our woman, our work, or for the women, the same thing. This isn't gender specific. When I'm meeting conflict in Josh, or when we're meeting conflict, that is where all the juice is. That is where all the love is. That is where all the gold is. Why do people think they're good at conflict, but they're not?
I mean, it's a good question. Again, people have a lot of fantasies. Talk about distortions, about how they are and how they see themselves and how they see other people. I mean, in the personal growth field is a really good example of people thinking they're good at it. So they have the words, but they just kind of weaponize it. So I don't know. Most of us, I think, would admit conflict with an intimate partner of 10 or 20 years is hard.
Yeah.
Conflict with my parents is pretty hard.
Yeah.
No one's kind of above that. I don't know that many people would claim that. But if anyone is claiming that, it's because they're using it all to manipulate other people, I think. Yeah, and that's a much smaller group of people.
What is the most challenging nuance of high stakes conflict that troubles most people in relationship?
It's what you said earlier, which is people are so aghast at how they act in conflict, whether it's the blame, the defensiveness, the voice raising, the yelling, the shutting down and getting completely silent for days on end. They're so ashamed and they think they should, because they don't focus on repair, they keep getting lost in trying to behave differently during conflict. And they never learn repair because they've got their eye on the wrong area to improve. And yes, of course, we want to.
That's so good.
It's just glacially slow to improve the nervous system's reactivity with the amygdala under stress. That's very slow work. Repair is much faster. If I can clean up the mess and learn the skill from a more regulated place, that's where the juice is. So people just kind of, if I could just redirect everybody's attention to repair, I think that would help a lot of people.
Can you give us an understanding of, it's the title of your book, Getting to Zero. And I don't know if y'all are watching right now, it's on the screen. There's 3 circles. The first 2 are cut in half and moved. The last one is connected. What was your thinking in this expression, and what does getting to zero really mean?
Yeah, so getting to zero is just getting back to a good place. That's the translation. Mm-hmm. I mean, I should have called the book Getting Back to a Good Place, or Repair.
Getting back to zero makes sense, because then we're not keeping score on each other.
Yeah, and it means now we have zero conflict. There's zero issue between us because we're reconnected. Yeah. And that's what the images are, I think, trying to express. I thought they did a pretty good job. I had no say in that.
Got it.
They came up with that, and I was like, oh, that's good enough.
You try once, you're disconnected. You try again, you're still disconnected. You use Jason's framework, you're connected.
Yeah, you figure it out. Hopefully you're reconnected.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love this getting to zero, because I'm not a biblical man per se, mm-hmm. but I love, there's a phrase that in the Bible that says, love does not keep score. Love does not tally right and wrong.
Yeah.
Love loves without judgment. Mm-hmm. And I don't know the phrase exactly, but it's on our wall in our home. Closing the loop on everything we've discussed today, which we covered a lot of ground, man. Mm-hmm. This is why I love in person, because we're trading electrons. It's just such a different experience. And y'all can relate to this who are with us and watching. It's like when 2 people are with each other, there's a certain level of intimacy and presence that's felt and mm-hmm. that's expressed and experienced. For people that are deeply, deeply struggling in conflict and that are, let's say, more avoidant in their relationship, mm-hmm. those are the people that I found. And I know I'm making a blanket statement, so I'm not saying this is the total of everyone. I have found in my own life that me coming from a bipolar mother, I have proclivities towards anxious attachment. Mm-hmm. And we're all working our way to secure and being an anchor.
Yeah.
Yet I have found overall that the avoidant is the one that holds power in the relationship at times. Not all the time, but mm-hmm. most of the time. The avoidant creates the vacuum. Aristotle says nature hates a vacuum. Mm-hmm. It sucks in the anxious, but yet then when the anxious becomes more secure, that creates a vacuum that sucks in the avoidant. Can you just give someone who's avoidant, who's stuck in the avoidant trap, mm-hmm. some beginning advice about how they can come back to zero?
Yeah. Well, let me level the playing field here just to challenge what you're saying, which is the anxious person claims often they're more relational because, hey, I want to reconnect. Hey, where are you? Hey, what the hell? We need to talk. That's often the anxious partner. I'm more on that spectrum. So I'm with you, bro.
Okay.
And often the anxious person is thinking about one person, themselves, because they're dysregulated. Mm-hmm. And the way they get regulation and feel better is to get the avoidant back in the conversation, right? So even though they look like they're being all relational and considerate and, hey, I'm thinking about you, you're really just thinking about yourself often. Okay, I'm not saying that's you, Josh, necessarily, but mm-hmm. with all the couples I've worked with, that's going on. And I just like to challenge the anxious people because they often have a story that it's the avoidance fault, problem, etc.
I want to challenge you on that too, because it's not that I need to feel regulated or I need to feel at peace because the person's coming to center. Mm-hmm. It's that I just know the potential. Uh-huh. It's the desire and the quest for the potential.
Yeah, great. Yeah.
That is the goal for me. It's like once I've seen the potential of what's possible in relationship, why the fuck would I want anything else? And why the fuck would my partner want anything else?
Exactly. So I love that. So again, I will say that the anxious partner usually is the one advocating for the relationship and its potential.
And there's nuance here.
There's nuance.
It's not like total.
But anxious people need to look at that shadowy part of themselves.
Sure.
That's self-advocacy.
I'm only okay if this person does what I want them to do is unhealthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the avoidant needs to remember, my wife studied with Stan Tatkin for years. I don't know if you know Stan's work. Loves his stuff. Yeah, she's a badass. And she likes to remind me about the avoidance, that the avoidant needs to remember that the longer they stay withdrawn, the harder they're making it for themselves. That's really important to understand for the avoidance is the longer you wait the harder it is for the relationship, the harder it is for you. You have now the fight that happened, whatever it was about the dishes or, money. And now you have this distance problem that you've been gone for too long. And that you're creating stress for your partner who you claim you care about. And just those reminders are like, right, because they're not a bad person. Avoidant people are not bad people. They just grew up in a family where it was a smart move to be on their own, to figure it out by themselves because no one was available. So they learned to not rely on relationships to feel better. They learned to rely on books, movies, porn, just distraction, climbing trees outside. But people were not helpful. And so they learned this is not going to go better. And it's just deeply wired in their nervous system.
Yeah.
But they have to remember, right, I actually do care about relationship. I do have needs here. They're buried, but I have them. And I care about my person. And I want to consider them. I've got to remember they're hurting over there. This isn't all about me and my self-protection. And the sooner I can get this, come back and say, I'm sorry, I see you. I didn't mean to have you waiting that long. That must have sucked for you. The sooner I do that, the sooner we're back into reconnection. Because the anxious person usually needs less. They just need something like that. And it's like, thank you. Yeah. Thanks for acknowledging that this has been painful for me over here.
It's a whole, we'll have to do round 2. It's a whole podcast
it's
on its own.
It's a whole podcast.
There's so many layers.
We could dive so deep here.
There's a ton of layers to attachment.
Yeah.
Last question for you. The alchemy journey you've been on. I asked you this before. So as you feel into your experience for 2026 and being an author, an entrepreneur, a podcaster, a speaker, a father, a lover, all the things, what is one piece that you're still learning about yourself and or struggling with?
Probably my sex and sexuality. I've been on a tremendous learning journey there. Just my own wounds and history around sex, intimacy, close off intimacy. It's just a journey for me. And I just continue to be a student and want to keep learning and growing. I've written a bunch in the past about erectile dysfunction, premature ejaculation. I have a ton of blog posts. If you Google my name and those subjects, you'll see a bunch of posts by me, podcasts, just about my own journey there and trying to help men around their struggles sexually. So I still am in the dojo there. Yeah.
That's honest.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's really easy to, when somebody comes across your work, like if they listen to you on a soundbite, to go, wow, this guy's got it all figured out. I find that the more all of us can share where we actually are, it takes the pressure out of the situation.
Yeah.
And there's a lightness that can be felt.
Yeah.
And then from that lightness, there can be real leadership.
Yeah.
But without that, some people call it vulnerability. I just describe it as like being open.
Yeah.
Being an open, honest communicator.
Telling the truth about ourselves, right?
It only feels vulnerable because we're scared of what we might receive back.
Yeah.
Which is silly too, because then we would choose to just not create meaning about what's reflected back.
Yeah.
If it's deemed harmful.
Well, and there's obviously a lot of shame around sexuality. So talking about it over the years has always helped.
Yeah, I mean, that's why
freeing, right?
Almost every episode, including this one, I just share that I was a porn addict and that I was a womanizer. And every single time I share about it, it diminishes the charge every time.
Yeah, nice.
Because the
Thank
truth,
you for doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's my honor to do it.
Yeah.
I choose to not be run by shame in my life. I choose to feel my shame.
Yeah.
And when I choose to feel my shame, then I can feel all the other amazing emotions above it.
Yeah.
And so in closing, what would be a message, or what is one thing that you want people's hearts and minds to really digest when it comes to getting to zero?
Yeah, that you deserve connection, to be connected to yourself and another person in a close, intimate way. And you've got to be willing to do all of the work on your side to co-create that and choose people who are available for that. And you're going to be disconnected. It's a part of life. You're going to dissociate, shut down, do all your things in relationship with other people, especially your most important person. And if you can learn how to repair, you've got the keys to reconnecting every single time, especially if you got a willing partner. That's the way.
to be a master of repair.
Yeah.
And then when you have a certain level of mastery, you can teach others to do the same, not because you're better, but because you've lived it. It's become your life, your earned life experience, which is so beautiful.
Yeah. And look at how much cooler the world would be if adults knew how to repair.
Oh my God, the world would be an amazing place. Well, thank you for making the world a more amazing place.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here on the podcast. Where do people go to get the book? It's on Amazon.
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 The best place. Yep.
And it's the relationshipschool.com.
Without the.
Oh, it's just relationship school.
Yep.
Okay. It sounds better. It's like in Facebook where he's like, take off the and just make it Facebook.
Right.
So relationshipschool.com is the website. Thank you for being my guest, man. I really enjoyed this.
Of course, brother. Great hanging out with you.
Yeah, same.
An honor.
We'll do it again. I'll come to Colorado.
Yeah, hell
where my daughter was born. Y'all share this podcast with somebody who's been struggling that doesn't have to struggle so much. The meaning that we make out of our suffering is inherently valuable, yet the degree or the volume of our suffering, I do believe, does not have to be so great. I think we can learn from people like yourself about how to get to zero, and we can become an N=1 of this human experience. So you never know. Sharing this podcast may save someone's life. It's happened before. People have literally written and said, this altered the course of my life. This saved the course of my life. So trust that. Trust that your just a little act of generosity of sharing a podcast can truly change the course of someone's life. So until we see you on another episode next week, I'm wishing you love, wellness, but most importantly, peace and power. You cannot have power unless it comes from peace. We'll see you soon.